So nice to be here. I'm Tom. I'm the founder and CEO of TerraCycle and Loop.
And I'm Virginie Helias, Chief Sustainability Officer at P&G.
So we want to start a little bit by telling you how this came to be and where it's going. And actually, our journey started many years ago in Geneva. You know, our business at TerraCycle, the goal is to eliminate the idea of waste. And that really begins by making things that are not recyclable, recyclable. And that took me to your doorstep.
And I had been on the job for a bit less than a year. And I had decided that my strategy to enroll people on sustainability internally was to not waste my energy on the skeptic, but to go for the 1%, the coalition of the willing. And it took me to this business leader who was leading the hair care business, that's Febreze, and who had just had his epiphany by seeing his own product on an open landfill in Latin America, and had decided that that was not the legacy he wanted to leave behind. And instead, he wanted to leave nothing behind but fresh air on Febreze. And when Tom came with these wonderful ideas to recycle the not so easy to recycle products, this gentleman was in, and it started the partnership.
And this was an amazing unlocking opportunity for a small mission-driven business to be partnering with a major partner and really not just focusing on sustainability, but how do we win commercially? Because that case study echoed through the global P&G organization, taking us to where we are today, which is much more than just air care recycling.
So after Febreze, it was one category after the other, until very recently, Gillette in the US, the first recyclable razor, thanks to the partnership with TerraCycle. But then the Ellen MacArthur Foundation report came out saying that by 2050, there will be more plastic than fish in the ocean if we do nothing about it. And that hit straight in her face, the business leader of our hair care business. And she decided on Head and Shoulders that she would do something about it. And this is how the Head and Shoulders with the beach plastic integrated recycle into it came up.
I'm just going to leave this here so we can have a look. And this became, this was P&G calling us. This was back in Geneva now saying, can you bring a meaningful solution to ocean plastic? And you all know the ocean plastic issue, so I'm not going to express it. But it led to setting up one of the largest supply chains, collecting plastic from the ocean directly from rivers, beaches, and lakes that had just washed up on shores. And through huge technical work with the P&G R&D team, the Suez R&D team, our TerraCycle R&D team, we created this, the world's first shampoo bottle made 25% from beach plastic that is also locally recyclable. And there we were at Davos,
so we were in Davos in this press conference, and it went very well. But at the end of it, we looked at each other and said, is that really the solution? I mean, is it it? What else could we do? And then we were at the time working on our Ambition 2030 goals, where we had declared that no P&G packaging will find its way to the ocean. And one way is obviously recyclability, but another way is reusability, and we had not done much about it until this gentleman came with this crazy idea to resurrect the milkman, which I fell in love immediately with, not the milkman, the idea, and that's the idea.
Well, and this is, I think, really important for especially if you're an actor like me, which is you're trying to push organizations to adapt and evolve. My big lesson was you try to move quick, create success, and then build on that success with more ambitious and more ambitious ideas. And one of the most inspiring moments to me when we were talking about recycling is, we had a very honest conversation. Me as a recycler and P&G as someone who is advocating and investing into it is recycling the solution? And the answer that we landed on is it's critically important to make things recyclable and make them from recycled content, make them practically recyclable, not just technically. But it's solving the symptom of waste. It's not solving necessarily waste at the root cause. And that unlocked, especially in the context of the World Economic Forum, which really conveys these thinking patterns, this real exploration on what is the root cause of waste. And where we landed was using something once. When you buy a bottle of shampoo or any object, you buy the shampoo, which is what you really want, but you also effectively have purchased the bottle. That's in the price of the shampoo. And I would argue most of us don't want to own the things that our products come in the end. And it was this really big unlocking moment where the question of ownership was what we could really challenge. why should we own something we don't want to own in the end? And when we own it, it becomes a cost to the manufacturer, and then the manufacturer's goal is to reduce that cost, which actually makes packaging less recyclable because it becomes more complex and harder for waste management companies to make money at it. And that entire shift, which is, I think, a really profound challenge, it's challenging every assumption, was what birthed the idea of Loop. But then we had to actually sell this in,
So what I did is basically what I'm doing for all new ideas, how to sell them internally. The first thing is to start with a great idea, and we had one. The second one is to have external advocates for the idea, because they are much more effective than me in advocating the idea. So we took Tom on a tour. And he went, business after business to explain the Loop idea. And two came out with the most courageous one. You always need, the leader to start. And it was the leader of the Cascade business and the leader of the Pantene business who put the first fund down and started to develop unique packaging. So that's for Cascade. This is a packaging made in very sturdy plastic ABS, and that contains the little units of dish care product, and this is the pump of Pantene in a very light aluminum.
And I think this is, to me, the interesting learnings. We came to Loop as a waste management company, not as an idea to create a new innovation or new way of shopping. Was how do we bring about reuse? And then we realized, actually, that reuse is about durability. And durability is much more than reuse. It is reuse, but it's also about beautiful design. That package is now counterworthy. And by the way, plastic is not the evil. The evil or the challenge is to use something once. Engineered plastic is a wonderful thing. Metals are great. Glass is great. It's the idea of continuously using these materials and honoring them by having them continuously go around. And again, from our side, the moment we had one of the biggest, if not, I think, the biggest dish brand in the world and one of the biggest shampoo brands in the world, and started showing that value, it started creating a landslide, even internally.
So the first two is actually the easiest part, because those are the crazy ones who are passionate about it anyway. The most difficult is to get the rest. And so the other tactics that we are doing is, one, you share externally. It's like when you have your New Year's resolution, what do? You share with a friend so that, they keep you accountable. That's what we did. We said we are going to announce in Davos. And then you create this, not artificial timeline, but, this sense of urgency. And the other thing that I did is internal competition. I use that shamelessly. Say, look what she's doing, look like what he's doing, and what about you? And people really will have a value which is called passion for winning. So we leverage that one. And we now have 10 brands participating in Loop.
And this is now how your laundry detergent shows up in beautiful, reusable packaging. This is one of my favorite designs in the sense that this is a manual toothbrush. This is not an electric toothbrush, probably the most beautiful manual toothbrush I've seen. And there's certain parts that are unreasonable to reuse, so they go to recycling, and that becomes your new experience. And this was the big piece, is that, again, it's not just about reuse and sustainability, it's about beauty and aesthetics, because my goal is actually as I say this as a joke in case any are in here, the white man living in the middle of America wearing a red hat, he's the one I want to be getting to buy the product, not because he cares about sustainability, but because he just wants a better experience with great convenience. And once P&G started doing this with leading brands, it echoed across the entire CPG community to where today most of the world's biggest manufacturers in home care, personal care, packaged food are now entering this platform with new examples.
So we researched Loop for 2 years with consumers. And it was very interesting to see that, of course, they really like the fact that it's waste-free. Don't have to worry about where the plastic is going to be at the end, because they know it's going to be reused and refilled. And they like the fact that it's very convenient. But they are delighted by the premiumness of the experience. They are delighted by a totally new and different interaction with daily products, And so Loop is really about reinventing consumption in a way that is responsible, but more importantly, that is irresistible. So the call to action today is that more brands need to join, because the more brands join, the more irresistible loop is going to be, and the broader the consumer adoption will be.
And this is, thank you. I think the key way for us, because I think we'll all agree that we are in a crisis from an environmental point of view, and a crisis does not have the luxury of patience. We don't have time. Some people say 12 years, some more, some less. That is a crisis. We can't take our time. And it takes a lot of time to create new infrastructure. You know, even if P&G wanted to and had everything validated to move everything to durable, it would take years and years to build out that ecosystem. And so it's all about bringing all the stakeholders together. The consumer product companies, big ones, but also small ones and startups reinventing their process into durable. The retailers like Carrefour and Tesco integrating this into their ecosystem. Here in France, you'll be able to access Loop through Carrefour starting May 14, and later even in their stores. Companies like us doing what there isn't a role for today, which would be the waste management, but it's not garbage or incineration or shredding and melting, it's reusing. And in the end, that type of multi-stakeholder ecosystem with people really focusing on what they do and changing as little as possible. When you're done with all this, you throw it back in your container, dirty, no mixing. It's echoing what we love about disposability, which is that convenience and affordability. And I think in the end, this is not necessarily the silver bullet, but we need to all challenge ourselves to rethink how we interact with products and come up with many examples, many you've seen in the halls out there, where we can really change the relationship but still make life better and not just sacrifice in the process. So with that said, thank you.
Thank you very much to Tom and Virginie.